My earliest memory of Beth Orr is my husband, Bruce Dorsey, and I used to come to services pretty much regularly every Friday night.
So my earliest memory, I guess, was when I attended my cousin David Cohn's bar mitzvah at the old Beth Orr in Mount Airy. I think if I've calculated right, that was in 1958.
When we left Mount Airy, it was 150. We kept building onto an all-purpose room and then a magnificent synagogue. And then, of course, we outgrew it.
So the Spring House building was the only home that we knew for Beth Orr.
Oh, it was home. It was a very close-knit community. In those days, members painted the walls, they laid carpeting, they did electrical work. It was a very hands-on congregation.
It's the place where our whole family grew. We had a 3-year-old, a new baby, and the entire family's been very active at Beth Orr.
Services were held in what was the old living room, I think, of the mansion. There must have been well over 150 or 200 people there, and thinking how great this was, but hoping that the fire marshal didn't show up because obviously we were well overcrowded.
It became fairly clear that the Spring House facility was not adequate for even our current needs at the time, let alone future growth.
I and Elliot Titcher put together a long-range financial plan on how we could possibly pull this thing off. Once we could show the congregation it was financially viable, we took additional steps.
We had to do the packing, which was the first thing.
The stained glass was moved out of the old Beth Orr and moved in here in about 1 or 2 days.
When I close my eyes, I think about the time that we left and walked with the tourists for, I guess it was about over 2 miles, 2.5 miles.
I had been an officer and very involved with what was going on here, so I had the honor of marching one of the Torahs out of the old building and then marching here. One of the things that we did at this building was we wanted the youth to be involved. And my daughter at the time was vice president in BAFTI, and I handed a Torah to her, and she marched the Torah into here.
I think what really struck me is as I walked down that long aisle, because it was all the way from the social hall doors to the Ark, how many people I knew. And seeing all those smiling, happy faces, it made it feel like you were coming to your family celebration. It was a really beautiful day.
I think it took a while to feel like home. It's a big building.
I would often lead tours here to show them what was happening near the end of the construction. I would always start them over in the school wing, wind them around so they were totally confused, bring them up the back staircase, and then have them literally walk onto the beam. So they would walk into the sanctuary from that and see what it looked like, and the reactions were fantastic.
The first bar mitzvah student, I was on the bima with the rabbi, starting out our great adventure here. It's hard to believe that it's been since 2006. I can recall that Rabbi Marks would say, it's so hard to get used to this building, and now it's second nature to us all.
So pretty much all of my friends are from Beth Orr at this point in my life. So most of our friends, their kids have gone through preschool with our kids. They have been in Hebrew school with our kids. And then when the synagogue hosts an event, we're all pretty much going together. So we're hanging out with each other anyway. So it's a really nice kind of focal point to our social circle.
There's not a time I don't walk into this building and just smile to myself of what we've accomplished. The fundraising for a $19.3 million synagogue, we had $10 million pledged over 5 years. It's an unbelievable story with over 80% of the congregation participating financially. And that's why it's so important to me that we're going to terminate the mortgage. It's a wonderful, wonderful moment for all of us.
You know, Jewish history has really been a cycle of exile and redemption, of homelessness and coming home. And I think that this congregation has had a similar spiritual experience. We've been in many different places. This building is important because it's a coming home. It's a knowing that we belong and that we have a place in this world. To me, spiritually, that's one of the most important things we need. This event is deeply spiritual.
This is Beth Orr's new home, and it presumably will be our home for many, many years. Yes, it's a nice physical asset, but it's more than that. It's our cultural and religious and social home.
Family in this house is the center of our community. We study and we pray, find meaning in each day. In this house, in this house, in this house. In this house is the spark of God's creation. In this house there is joy and celebration. By song or by word, your prayer in this house, in this house, in this house. Sing it out, sing it out.